Hi, my name is Chloe Osterman, and this is my research PowerPoint on the Korean War, aka the Forgotten War. So let's get into it. So this is just a timeline from the beginning of when Japan invaded Korea in 1910 to the end of the Korean War in 1953. You may pause to read the rest, but I'm going to go into the next slide. Before the war, Japan, like I said in the last slide, and says in the picture, Japan annexed all of Korea in 1910. It was not divided yet until the end of 1945, which is 35 years later, of Japan taking, not control, basically kind of control over all of Korea, which they just made it as their own territory, so it's kind of understandable. The Soviets said, "Hey, look, you need to leave." I guess the Japans were scared of them, and thus the Soviets and the United States seized control over all of Korea. Later, two military men, American military men, quickly drew the line separating North and South Korea, which is the 38th parallel. After back and forth, I think 3 years after 1945, and there was back and forth of debate on who was going to be North Korean leader, who was going to be the North Korean leader and the South Korean leader. It's like a tongue twister, my goodness. Excuse me. So which is not in the slide but is in my paper. In 1948, that year, towards the end of the year, we had our first South Korean leader. First name cannot pronounce, but last name I hope I'm not gonna butcher it. Reed. And we had the first North Korean leader, Kim Il-sung, which kind of interesting. Next slide. So, planning the invasion on South Korea. Who is planning this? You may ask. Oh my goodness. Kim Il-sung, the North Korean leader. And someone we did not expect, which later created a huge war. So a little information on what is in my paper. The Democratic People's Republic of Korea, which, other words, DPRK. Yes, I said that right. Which is basically just North Korea. And then you had Republic of Korea, which is ROK, and that's just South Korea. Kim Il-sung wanted South Korea, which I think, because since he was growing up during the times of the Japan invasion, or not invasion, them taking over and creating Korea as their own territory, and them having Japan rules and everything in between. I think he wanted to make North and South Korea overall just how it was before, just Korea. So later, Kim Il-sung was badgering Joseph Stalin for help. Later, he caved in finally, which they sat down for dinner, devising a 3-stage plan. The first stage is breaking through the defense line, which means the 38th parallel, going through there. The second stage, develop an attack once in South Korea. Stage 3, mopping up the operations and arriving on the shoreline of the South. Just basically cleaning up what they destroyed during the invasion. However, Joseph Stalin didn't think that it would work because, one, there was American troops and there was aid in South Korea, and we have a big military, and he knows that. So, because we fought the war with him, the World War II. North Korea had a very small military force. What changed? The American withdrew from South Korea due to the Chinese Civil War. They withdrew in South Korea, so there's no aid, no troops, nothing. They just had their South Korea little military group. They didn't really have any supplies to defend themselves if something were to happen, like later on. And the Chinese won, which creating China as the communist country. Kim Il-sung developed more aid and military to invade his neighboring country, South Korea. The Allied powers in World War II was Great Britain, United States, and the Soviet Union, which kind of raises some eyebrows to the United States when they hear the Korean War started. He basically betrayed the United States by aiding the communists into battle, starting the Cold War after the Korean War. However, it just goes straight into the war. So the start of the war, June 25th, 1953 is when the war started. Kim Il-sung, the North Korean leader, wanted to take control over South Korea. The United States got involved 2 days later, kind of. He sent the Air Force, some Air Force over there. And then later, like a month or 3 in between those times, United States got involved heavily. But they had nothing to do with South Korea. Truman said, United Nations, you got it. However, the United Nations, we are a part of the United Nations. So what happened during the war, or what happened towards the end, North Korea pushed deep through the south of Korea, or the southern part of Korea, going literally all the way down to the very edge, pushing like into the water, the shore, almost pushing the military forces off and into the shoreline of South Korea. And then the United States was like, okay, we're gonna help you. They sent troops, thus us pushing back up all the way to the China border, which I think angered the Chinese, and they entered the war with North Korea. And then they did this back and forth for the next 2 years. And in July 27th, 1953, the war ended. Well, Kinda. However, no one won, and the 38th parallel is still there, which in my paper says an unnecessary war. So, and then these are my references. Okay. Thank you for watching my video and my PowerPoint and my thank you.